Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon in the Senate Labor Committee. On our agenda today, we have one item that I think we're all looking forward very much to hearing, and that is Senate File 34. And Senator Pappas is here to present the bill to us, and we'll be also hearing from some testifiers momentarily as well. But I understand, Senator Pappas, that we have an author's amendment. Would you like to go ahead and address that first?
Madam Chair, I have an author's amendment because we had some changes from the Department of Labor and Industry, and rather than us all have to engross them as I speak, it's just easier to have it all engrossed. So there are minor changes. I'll point them out as I go through the bill, but if you'd like to have the bill before you, I would move the A2 author's amendment.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Pappas has moved the A2 author's amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the author's amendment A2 is adopted. Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
I have just a few opening comments, and then
Thank you, I'm sorry, Senator Pappas. We just had something from our ranking minority member, and I wanted to make sure that we address that before we start. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask two questions. One was the path of the bill. What other committees will this be going to? And then the other one is this has been brought very quickly through, and this has never been heard in the Senate, so I'm asking if they would, the author would walk through this slowly and go through the details of the bill.
I will.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think that we will address both of those as to the path. Perhaps, Senator Pappas, you could speak to that as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my understanding that from here it will go to state and local government because of the rulemaking, and then from there it'll go to judiciary because of the penalties, and then from there it'll go to finance because of the financing, and then from there to the floor. Does that sound right? Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Minnesotans care for one another, and we want Minnesota to be a caring state where all our families can be healthy and safe. I'm bringing this bill up today because we all know that everyone gets sick, and the pandemic was another reminder that when people get sick, they should be able to stay home, not just for their own health or that of a loved one, but for the health of all of us. This bill would ensure Minnesota is a state where, regardless of the color of your skin, your income, or where you work, you can stay home to snuggle with a sick child, where you can go to the doctor before your illness goes from bad to worse, where you can take the time to recover from an illness or seek support in the wake of a sexual assault without worrying about missing bills or losing your job. Unfortunately, for far too many, especially those we've called essential during this pandemic, this isn't the Minnesota they experience. An estimated 36% of working people, that's 932,000 Minnesotans, don't have any paid sick and safe time. This means that in a state with the second most Fortune 500 companies per capita, more than a third of working people in our state face a terrible choice between caring for themselves or the loved ones in need and the loss of wages or even employment. Because in many circumstances, it is still legal for workers to be fired for needing to take time off to care for themselves or a loved one. This is a common sense proposal that has proven effective in numerous states and localities across the country and in our state. It also benefits employers through improved recruitment and retention, lower employer health care costs through better use of preventive care, and lower presenteeism, or coming to work sick, all of which means higher productivity, fewer workplace injuries, and a healthier Minnesota. This is also a public health issue, since many of the employees least likely to have paid sick time in jobs such as food service were choosing to come in and work on the same side of that sneeze guard as your food, all because they need that paycheck, can have a real health implications for the general public. Ultimately, this bill is about our becoming the kind of caring state that I think we all want Minnesota to be. As for the bill's specifics, it tracks closely with those municipal sick and safe time ordinances that have already passed 4 states in Minnesota, including my own, St. Paul, as well as those now enacted in 16 other states, including recently in Colorado, New Mexico, and Illinois. And Illinois just passed it. Before I go through the bill as Senator Dornick requested, I'd like to ask that testifiers be allowed to speak now so they have a chance to get to the House, who's also hearing this bill this afternoon. You know, we start at 12:30, they start at 1.
Thank you very much, Senator Pappas, and we were aware of that scheduling arrangement. So we will, somewhat out of order, go to our testifiers first so that they're able to participate fully in both the Senate and the House, and then we will return to hear again from Senator Pappas, who will walk us through the bill in more detail. So with that, first we are set to hear from council member from the City of St. Paul, Rebecca Noker. And then I'm going to ask if the second, please join us at the podium there. And then the second person, I will also say the second person is Maria Vasquez. Is Maria Vasquez? Oh, wonderful, great. Then go ahead and wait, and then we'll expect you up. But you're next in the queue, so thank you very much. All right, thank you for joining the Labor Committee this afternoon. We look forward to hearing your testimony.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Rebecca Naker, and I am the St. Paul City Council member representing Ward 2, which includes downtown St. Paul, West Side, West 7th, Summit Hill, and a bit of Railroad Island. I really appreciate the opportunity you've given me today to testify on Senate File 34, a bill that would expand earned sick and safe time statewide. One of the very first moments I remember as a council member after I took office was standing with my colleagues in early 2016 as we convened a task force to explore an earned sick and safe time policy. The task force was led by the former St. Paul Chamber of Commerce president, and it was comprised of community members, union leaders, business representatives, and workers. Ultimately, the commission unanimously recommended an ordinance that would ensure all workers in the city of St. Paul can address their own health needs and the health needs of their family members, allow victims of domestic abuse and their family members to seek protection, and protect the public health in St. Paul by reducing the risk and spread of dangerous illnesses. We passed our Earned Sick and Safe Time ordinance in St. Paul in 2017 with overwhelming community support, and we have never looked back. Earned Sick and Safe Time gives our workers the capacity to put the health of their families first and gives businesses an ability to provide this benefit to their employees. Through our research on the ordinance since it's taken effect and during the lead up to passage, we have found that lower wage workers are largely the ones who benefit from Earned Sick and Safe Time. As Senator Pappas mentioned, these workers run our fast food restaurants, our grocery stores, our child care centers, our nursing homes, and they even come into our homes as personal care attendants to care for our loved ones. These are the frontline workers we've been talking about so much during the pandemic, and they should not have to choose between their families and the ability to pay their bills. While critics of Earned Sick and Safe Time allege that the policy could force businesses to close or relocate or tempts workers to abuse its privileges, I can tell you firsthand as someone who represents many commercial corridors in St. Paul that that is just not the case. In fact, Earned Sick and Safe Time was a lifeline for workers and for our economy in St. Paul as we navigated the challenges of the pandemic. When people can stay home when they're sick, they do. And that was exactly what we needed people to do and what we continue to need people to do as we emerge from this public health emergency. In fact, Earned Sick and Safe Time has been so successful in St. Paul that tomorrow afternoon at our council meeting, my colleagues and I will be voting to expand its protections to cover even more workers in St. Paul. Having this coverage for everyone in Minnesota is the right thing to do, and I really appreciate your considering my testimony on behalf of Senate File 34, and I hope that everyone in the state of Minnesota, not just my constituents, will soon be able to take advantage of this benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Naker. I apologize, I mispronounced your name earlier.
Naker.
Naker. Thank you very much for your testimony. And welcome, Ms. Vasquez.
Buenos días.
Hello,
Buenos
good morning.
días.
Mi nombre es María Vázquez.
Her name is Maria Vasquez, and for the record, my name is Marco Hernandez.
Vivo en San Pablo.
I live in St. Paul.
Trabajo como housekeeper.
She works as a housekeeper.
También trabajo cuidando personas de la tercera y la cuarta y la quinta edad.
And she also works at a retirement home as well, supporting the fellow retirees there.
Trabajo como voluntaria en CETUL por 3 años y estoy fungiendo en la mesa directiva.
She, for 3 years, has been a member of CETUL, which is a Spanish acronym that stands for Worker Center United in the Struggle, and she's also a part of the board of directors of CETUL.
Para los que no saben qué es CETUL, CETUL es un centro de trabajadores en lucha.
And she's saying the acronym in Spanish for CETUL.
También es una organización que educa y informa a los trabajadores de sus derechos laborales.
It is also an organization, a worker center that educates workers about the rights, especially in the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, as well as educating them about different labor laws that not only the workers should know, but definitely the managers and owners too.
CETUL se enorgullece de formar parte en la lucha por los trabajadores porque tengan su tiempo de enfermedad pagado.
And CETUL is very proud to have been a part of the fight within Minneapolis and St. Paul for sick and safe time.
Sabemos que en San Pablo y en Minneapolis ya estamos gozando de esos beneficios.
And we know that in those two cities, at least workers can benefit from sick and safe time.
Pero
But
¿qué de todos los trabajadores que trabajan en Minnesota?
what about the rest of the workers throughout the state?
Todos tenemos los mismos derechos.
We all have the same rights.
Estamos luchando por la igualdad de derechos, que
We are-
está muy desigual.
We are fighting for equal rights throughout the state, which is very unbalanced.
Seguramente los que no están en nuestro nivel laboral no lo pueden entender.
And those who are not at the same level professionally as most of the people here, for those falling below that level, may not have those benefits, unfortunately.
Yo quiero comentarles mi experiencia como trabajadora en los United States.
And right now, I'm going to go a little bit into my experience as a worker here, not only in Minnesota, but in the U.S.
Tuve que trabajar algunas ocasiones, no creo que sean muchas, ir a presentarme en trabajo con fiebre, temblorosa de mis pies, porque ustedes pueden decir, ¿y para qué ibas a trabajar?
And so there have been many times that I have presented to work, not only with a high fever, but to the point where my legs could barely support me. And people would ask me, well, why are you working? And there wasn't really a choice without essential sick and safe time.
La razón es más de una. Una, porque al emplearte adquieres una responsabilidad.
And so it really isn't one-to-one, because at that point in time, there was that understanding that, once you do have a job, you have an ultimate responsibility that you can't ignore.
Y no podemos darnos el lujo de quedarnos en casita sin que tengamos el día pagado, el beneficio de que si nos enfermamos estemos tranquilos en nuestras casas, cuidando de nuestra salud. Se trata de nuestra salud, de la salud de los trabajadores.
And at that point in time, I didn't have that benefit. And unfortunately for many, it seems like a luxury, and it shouldn't be for sick and safe time. It's not only about the health and safety of oneself, but the health and safety of all workers, of everybody here in the state.
Así es que apelamos a la conciencia de quien tenga el poder.
And so we appeal to all of you, to the consciousness of the legislators here who have the power to make a change,
De aprobar la ley
to vote yes in favor of the legislation,
para que todos tengan el privilegio de su tiempo de enfermedad pagado.
so that everybody can have that benefit of essential sick and safe time.
Y esperamos que al ser aprobado en Minnesota, esta ley Minnesota sea un ejemplo para todos los estados de los Estados Unidos, de que todos los trabajadores tengan su tiempo de enfermedad pagado. ¿Quién dice que no podemos ser un ejemplo?
And with the passage of, hopefully with this law, Minnesota can be an example with the rest of the states that have this type of law to the rest of the states that do not. And so thank you so much for
Gracias,
being here, and I
Mil. Hay
hope
mucho que
for
decir,
your
pero
support.
por ahora buenas tardes.
Gracias. Thank you very much, Ms. Vasquez. Next, we have Kali Jama. And following Kali Jama, we will have Eva Lopez. Good afternoon, Ms. Jama.
Hi, how are you?
Hello. Welcome to the Senate Labor Committee. If you could make sure the microphone is close so that we can hear your testimony.
All right, can you
If
hear
you
me?
would introduce yourself for the record, and we look forward to hearing your testimony.
Yeah, so my name is Kali Jama. I'm one of the Amazon warehouse workers in Shakopee, the 50th Mass Center. One of the reasons I'm here is, first of all, thank you so much for listening to us and giving us this opportunity, because as Somalian American coming to the United States, I worked so many different warehouses. I just never experienced what I worked at Amazon. That was put face safety and everything first. So when I started working at Amazon, I got sick. So as I was getting sick, I couldn't get days off or sick off because I wasn't there long enough, which I understand you have to be there 1 year to get a sick pay. But with Amazon, they have a system that is so difficult for me to understand to apply for the sick time, which didn't help at all. I was just worried for the people who work there who have language barriers, people who are literally working there sick because they are scared to lose their job because that's what they get the fear from. So I'm a big supporter of this sick time. As a mother of two, I experienced COVID as a nurse, went through all that. So when Amazon was not letting people go home while they were sick, ill, and because they couldn't get no sick pay or sick time, that kind of hurt me. And that's one of the reasons I started fighting against Amazon with all the rates, all the treatment that's going on. So this sick pay will do good for a lot of foreigners who work there, who have language barriers. I try to acknowledge, I work with a wood center, and also trying to give people more education about their rights and their sick time. And they do have the right to go home. If they're sick, they don't have to have an emergency and come and getting them. And that's what Amazon does. A lot of people end up fainting at work because they cannot afford to get sick time off. And that's a large company not able to give people, especially with the speed rate that we work with. So I experienced working with people who are really ill, vomiting in front of me. And I was scared to get sick because I have two kids who are athletes, who both play sports, and I cannot be around them. And there was no COVID testing there anymore. So you had to do your own COVID testing if anyone's coughing. I was literally coughing, and I told the HR, may I please go home? And they told me, unless you apply for sick time, you can't. And it takes 72 hours for them to reply back to you. So this is really, really important, especially people who, like me, who believe in American dreams, the life of America. So to work in a warehouse, the richest warehouse in the world, and not able to care for your health, but willing to make you work like a slave, it's not fair. We deserve to be treated well, and we deserve sick pay. And that's what I'm here for. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jama. Next on our list of testifiers, we have Eva Lopez. Is Eva Lopez here?
Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Lopez. Welcome to the Senate Labor Committee.
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm with SEIU, and I'll be reading the testimony in English. I'll be reading in English after it's said in Spanish. And actually, Carla Gomez is here in place of Eva Lopez today.
Oh, okay, very good.
Also a member of SEIU Local 20.
Okay. So this is Ms. Gomez.
This is Carla Gomez, yes.
Okay, Carla Gomez. Well, welcome both of you to the Senate Labor Committee this afternoon. And we look forward to hearing your testimony. If you would introduce yourself formally for the record and make sure that you're close enough to the mic so that we can hear you very well. So we look forward to your testimony. Thank you.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Carla Gómez. Yo soy una madre y conserje, trabajo para una tienda de combustibles. Vengo esta mañana para pedirles a ustedes que pasen la ley para poder pues, nosotros tener derecho a nuestros días de enfermedad. Porque a veces a nosotros, nuestros hijos se nos enferma y tenemos que decidir si ir a trabajar o no ir a trabajar. Y las facturas de nuestras enfermedades nadie nos las cubre, ¿verdad?
Is it okay? Okay, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Yo pertenezco al sindicato CIUE 26 y habemos 8,000 miembros de ese sindicato y todos, pues, 1,500 han pasado por el COVID, ¿verdad? Y yo fui una de ellas que tuve el COVID el año pasado y estuve en casa, perdón que lo lea. Entonces, y los habitantes de acá de Minnesota necesitan el tiempo ganado por enfermedad. Y la seguridad, nadie debería de tener que elegir entre nuestra salud y nuestro sueldo. Los miembros de CIU de Local 26 son en su mayoría personas de color e inmigrantes. Y muchos de nuestros miembros se ven directamente afectados por la falta de tiempo ganado por la enfermedad. Y de seguridad, porque se espera que acudamos incluso cuando nos sentimos bien. Creemos que ahora es el momento de asegurarnos que cada trabajador en Minnesota sea pagado su tiempo para poder cuidar a nuestros hijos que están enfermos por una fiebre o por cualquier otra cosa. El tiempo ganado por enfermedad y seguridad ya pasó en 4 ciudades de Minnesota: San Pablo, Minneapolis, Bloomington y Duluth. Esto ha significado que miles de trabajadores finalmente cuenten con esta política, debido a que no trabajo en una de esas ciudades, no tengo tiempo libre por enfermedad para mí. Así que no puedo tomar el tiempo libre remunerado si me enfermo o si mi miembro de mi familia, como mi hija, se enferma. Muchos de nosotros tenemos que preguntarnos si tomamos o no el día libre y si nos sentimos bien. O si nuestro hijo tiene una temperatura, tenemos que ir a trabajar. En lugar de cuidarlos todos para asegurarnos de que se nos paguen nuestras facturas, mirando hacia atrás, esta política habría beneficiado y salvado vidas desde el comienzo. De la pandemia, como les dije, el sindicato tiene 8,000 miembros y 1,500 personas contrajeron el COVID. Y lamentablemente 5 personas murieron por esa enfermedad. Esta política siempre ha sido importante, pero COVID lo demostró aún más. Que todos nos enfermamos. No es justo que algunas personas puedan quedarse en casa y no ir a trabajar cuando estén enfermas y otras no. Los trabajadores a los que le llamamos esenciales durante el COVID, como los conserjes a menudo, no tienen tiempo pagado por enfermedades. Y tenemos que seguir trabajando durante una pandemia mundial, pero si nos enfermamos, tenemos que elegir entre nuestra salud y nuestro cheque de pago. Necesitamos sobrevivir porque no tenemos estos beneficios. Esto está mal y es hora de que intervengan y los arreglen. El tiempo ganado por enfermedad y seguridad brinda a los trabajadores la oportunidad de vivir con dignidad, que los trabajadores no se enfermen, que hacen nuestro estado que sea un lugar más equitativo y equal para poder vivir. Hemos estado luchando por esta política durante años y estoy emocionada por este impulso para que finalmente se haga una realidad.
Gracias, Carlos.
Gracias.
Carla, ¿tú eres una madre?
Soy madre de 3 hijos.
Gracias, gracias. And now I will read Carla's testimony in English. My name is Carla Gomez. I am a mother to 3 children. I am a janitor and member of Local 26. Minnesotans need earned sick and safe time. No one should have to choose between their health and their paycheck. SEIU Local 26 members are mostly people of color and immigrants, and many of our members are directly impacted by lack of earned sick and safe time because we are expected to come in even when we are not feeling well. We believe that now is the time to make sure that every worker in Minnesota has paid time to care. Earned sick and safe time has already passed in 4 cities in Minnesota, in St. Paul, Minneapolis, Duluth, and Bloomington. This has meant thousands of workers finally have this policy. But many workers outside of those cities don't have sick and safe time for themselves, so they can't take paid time off if they get sick or if a family member is ill. So many have to wonder whether or not to take the day off if we aren't feeling well, or if our child is running a fever. We have to go to work instead of taking care of ourselves, all to make sure that our bills are paid. Looking back, this policy would have benefited and saved lives during the beginning of the pandemic. Our union of 8,000 members had over 1,500 people get COVID, and sadly, 5 people have died from COVID. This policy has always been important, but COVID showed it even more. All of us get sick. It isn't fair that some people can stay home from work when they're sick and others cannot. Workers we called essential during COVID, like janitors, often don't have paid sick time. Our jobs are so important we had to keep working during a global pandemic. Yet, if we get sick, we have to choose between our health and our paycheck. We need to survive, or the paycheck that we need to survive because we don't have this benefit. This is wrong, and it's time for you to step in and fix it. Earned sick and safe time provides working people with the opportunity to live with dignity. It helps businesses make sure workers don't come in sick. It makes our state a more fair and just place to live. We have been fighting for this policy for years, and I'm excited for this push to finally make it a reality. It would mean so much to so many people. Please pass earned sick and safe time as soon as possible. Thank you.
Gracias, Ms. Gomez. Thank you very much. And for the person who gave the translation, could you please state your name for the record? Perhaps you did earlier, but again.
Yes, I'm Laura Carpenter.
Thank you very much, Ms. Carpenter. Thank you. Next on our list, we have Commissioner Blissenbach from the Department of Labor and Industry. Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. Hope that works. Thank you, Chair McEwen and members of the committee. My name is Nicole Blissenbach, and I am the Commissioner of the Department of Labor and Industry. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of Senate File 34. Earned sick and safe time is critically important for workers, our communities, the economic security of Minnesota families. Working Minnesotans need access to paid time off to care for themselves or a loved one when they get sick. Many workers can't afford to take unpaid time off and are presented with the difficult choice between their job and economic security or their health and the health of their family. Low-wage workers, workers of color, and workers in the service industry are especially likely to lack paid sick time. In fact, more than 1 in 4 private sector workers and 7 in 10 of the lowest wage workers do not have paid sick days. Statewide earned sick and safe time improves access to what should be a basic workplace benefit so that all Minnesotans can afford to take care of themselves and their family members when they are sick without risk of losing their jobs. Sick and safe time ordinances have passed in 4 Minnesota cities, and many employers choose to provide paid sick time to their employees. We have seen over and over again that this is the right thing to do, but still, not all Minnesotans have the right to this needed benefit. A statewide law would ensure all employees in Minnesota have the right to paid time off regardless of where they live or work, supporting health and economic well-being. Businesses also benefit when their employees have access to paid sick time. When workers are able to stay home and recover from sickness, it lessens workplace exposure, making workplaces healthier and employees more productive. This bill would take away an obstacle to obtaining preventative care and timely medical care, which will promote the health and faster recovery from illness, enabling employees to return to work sooner and reduce healthcare costs. Employers in jurisdictions where employees have paid sick days have seen increased growth and reported no negative impact on profitability. Earned sick and safe time promotes equity, family stability, and public health, and benefits employers. I am pleased to offer my full support for this important initiative. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today and to voice the strong support of the administration for this important legislation.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Next on our list of testifiers, we have Lauren Schothorst of the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Ms. Schothorst, and I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong, but if you would please state your name for the record, and we look forward to hearing your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Lauren Schothorst, and I'm the Director of Workplace Management and Workforce Development Policy for the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. The Minnesota Chamber of Commerce is a statewide organization representing more than 6,300 businesses across the state and over 500,000 employees in Minnesota. A majority of our members are small to mid-sized businesses. Thank you for the opportunity to share our opposition to Senate File 34 as amended, and appreciate the ability to bring a different perspective to the testimony today on the things we consider when legislation seeks to impose a new unfunded mandate on Minnesota's employers. Minnesota's employers, employees, and communities are counting on lawmakers to work towards an agenda of economic growth, making Minnesota's economy stronger, more vibrant, and more competitive. We know from the Chamber's 2023 Business Benchmarks Report, and all of you have received a copy of this, as well as an invitation to hear directly from our foundation on this data and research, that Minnesota lags other states in a number of key business metrics. Instead of accelerating economic growth in 2023, this bill takes the opposite approach. Minnesota employers provide their employees with numerous benefits, promoting wellness and flexibility, building high morale, and attracting and retaining the best talent in a competitive marketplace, while maintaining the ability to operate and manage a variety of workplaces across the state. In fact, over 80% of Chamber members offer paid leave in some form to their employees, and many of our members do fall under the jurisdictions mentioned today. Employers in every industry in Minnesota are also experiencing supplier challenges, changes in workforce protocols, and the highest rate of inflation in over 40 years. Coinciding with these operational cost drivers, the state is experiencing a workforce shortage of crisis levels, largely due to structural demographic changes and declining labor force participation. Increasingly, companies and employees can conduct business virtually and can choose to move more rapidly to new jurisdictions, which may have real consequences for Minnesota's economic growth. Importantly, Minnesota businesses don't have the luxury of considering tax and labor policies, state spending, and regulatory decisions separately in a vacuum. Employers, particularly our small and mid-sized employers, are at a risk of multitude of new mandates and workplace regulations this session. This is in a state that is already considered a high tax, high cost of doing business state. The paid sick and safe time provisions mandate that employers will ultimately offer up to 80 hours of fully paid time off in a specific format for an expanded and overly broad set of familial persons for an increasing list of qualifying events. The bill requires employers to maintain specific records in a specific format or risk significant new fines and liabilities for a set of benefits that a majority of Minnesota Chamber members are already offering to their employees in some form. The proposal is different than the paid sick and safe time ordinances adopted in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth, and Bloomington, further complicating compliance and increasing costs for business who operate in these locations, but these local ordinances are not preempting. preempted, creating a scenario now where employers must be forced to require to comply with a patchwork of sick and safe time ordinances within Minnesota. This proposal is in addition to the proposal we will discuss on Thursday that would mandate up to 24 weeks of paid family and medical leave on our business community. These leaves could be stacked on top of each other, in addition to unpaid leave already required by FMLA in certain instances. So the cumulative cost, compliance, and operational impacts of mandates such as the one being considered this week put pressure on our employers, and these costs further limit resources available for employee compensation, job growth, and expansion in Minnesota. Our approach is to support one that limits these additional cost burdens and mandates so we can support employers who are doing their best to keep their doors open and Minnesotans employed. We know this is the bill's first stop, so we appreciate the opportunity to share this big perspective as you consider these bills and look forward to working with you as the bill moves forward in the legislative process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schulthorst, for your testimony. Next, we're going to shift over to Zoom. We have some testifiers who are going to offer us their testimony remotely. And the first testifiers we have are Mike Packer and Bonnie Billington Packer of the Blacktop Bar and Grill.
Hi, yes,
Mr.
thank you. This is Mike. My wife is Bonnie's on here with us. Can you hear me okay?
We can, let's see here. I want to, if you just hold on with us for just a moment, do we have, oh, is this the only video for them? Okay. Okay, so we just have the one video and we can see Ms. Packer. Hello, Ms. Packer. And we can hear the voice of Mike Packer speaking as well. Is that your understanding? Okay.
That's fine. That's what I see on the screen as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you for joining us, Mr. and Ms. Packer. Welcome to the Senate Labor Committee this afternoon. And if you would please introduce yourselves for the record, and we look forward to hearing your testimony.
Sure. My name is Mike Packer, co-owner of the Blacktop Bar and Grill in the small town of Elgin, Minnesota.
My name is Bonnie Billington Packer. I also go by Billy, and I am a manager of a large credit union in Minnesota and have been for 10 years, and co-owner of the Blacktop Bar and Grill.
All right, honey, did you want me to go and talk?
Go for it.
All right. Well, anyway, first thing I want to say is thank you for listening to us. I also want to say I certainly believe this bill is necessary in some form. I mean, it's not a bad bill. I think it actually and positively something needs to happen in that area. I also believe that by making this a blanket form for all employers, including large and small, is a mistake. And let me explain why. Coming from our perspective as a small business, it's a bar and grill, this is actually going to effectively deter us from providing a more relaxed work environment for our employees. Meaning, if we have to constantly watch the dollar, we're going to have to actually be much stricter on our policies at work. We're going to have to change our model of doing business from a somewhat easy and harmoniously helping individuals to offering a blanket program to all of our employees. Some people, as you guys know, some people need a little more help than others from time to time. And that's who we are as a small business. And Minnesota Nice and caring. We want to help those that need it when they need it. And this will effectively stop that from happening. This is going to stop us from offering paid vacation time, bonus perks, free or discounted meals, extra financial help when needed. Those dollars are all going to be tied up in this program for the small business owner. We'll have to have much stricter use of our time at work. Again, this is all about the dollar and not about the employee from our perspective. And I believe that I speak for a lot of small businesses that we want to take care of our employees first when they need to be taken care of. Also, I've talked to some of our employees about this bill, and they're in disagreement with it, which I'll talk about in just a couple of minutes, as soon as possible. This is going to force us to provide something that we already provide, just in a different form. It's going to be a blanket across the board. Everybody gets the same thing at all times kind of a thing, and it's going to deter us from being able to help the individual when they need the help most. And I'd love to give you an example of that. Then we have a chef coming up. She's going to have surgery. She's going to have a shoulder repaired. She's going to be out for 6 weeks. With our current model, we would probably pay her 3 or 4 weeks of that, or, we'll pay her time for that and whatever she needs on an individual basis. But if this bill passes and we're setting up these benefits for all employees, that chef is only going to get what that benefit allows, and she won't be able to get more because we won't have it to give to her. And that kind of breaks our hearts, because while I hear a lot of things about, larger companies and people being forced to work when they're sick, that's just not, I just don't believe that's how most Minnesota businesses, small businesses, operate their business. I don't believe they'd have employees. I don't believe they'd stay in business if that's how they operated. Employers have bills to pay as well. So we all watch our bottom dollar. And if we can't pay our bills because something is put upon us like this, some people may or may not go out of business. Will this put us under? No. I mean, honestly, we could afford to do this, but our employees wouldn't be as happy. It wouldn't be as nice of a work environment. This just going to become less about the employer relationship and more about the dollar at the end of the day. And that's really not, I don't believe that's how Minnesota businesses want to operate their business. So I'm going to ask you to please vote no as this bill is written. And I would like to offer what we do with our employees is when they bring a problem to us, we ask them also to bring a solution. Okay? So this solution may be way off the wall and may not work, but I guess I would ask that you rewrite something or have some flexibility in this bill that would either A, look at smaller rural communities or smaller employers in a little different light, or B, let the employers of individual companies come together and vote on this for themselves as individual companies. I know some people work places where the boss doesn't care and he takes all the dollars and that's just the way it is, but that's not the case with most small businesses in this state. So if you go if there would be a way or a possibility of voting on this per company, however that would be worded, that would be great. I'm going to let my wife say anything that I may have missed.
Thank you, Mr. Packer. Ms. Packer, would you like to share anything additional?
I just wanted to share that. So we employ a range of people. From a lot of our servers are high school students. We have a very flexible schedule. In a year of operating, because we opened from the ground up after this restaurant had been closed for 2 years. So we, I'm just going to share a couple of things. We have never denied anybody a sick day or time off. We have lent people money. We have helped them move. We have, we give our employees who need meals, free meals. Because we don't want them to go hungry. We are able to do all these things because we care about people. But we're attracting, because we're able to run our own business and make decisions that make sense for our community in Elgin, we have a long list of people who would like to work for us. If, we also have parents who are working for us. We have, I guess just all walks, all ages. And so everybody at a different stage of their life has something different going on. You can't just put everybody in a box and say, this is going to cover everyone. I was personally sick, for the first person in my company at this credit union, sick with COVID, and I was out for 2 weeks. And I am very thankful that my company had a COVID benefit that they put in place because they care about their employees, and I was a direct benefit of that benefit, right? So I got paid, I already had time saved up, but I had a benefit on top of that for COVID that I could stay home and rest and get better. So I get it. I understand what you guys are saying, but when you look at it from a small business owner's perspective, it's just different when you only have 15 or 20 employees. And I just think that you're not considering, this bill is not considering those employers or those people as well. So a quick story. My grandfather worked at Rath Packing Company, which is in Waterloo, Iowa, in the 1940s and 50s. And they had very strong, back then they were known as thugs, right? He was a union thug. And there was a person, there was a big strike, and actually someone who was shot right next to him because they were flipping over cars that came into this because people were trying to come to work and they were trying to picket. By the 1970s, Rath Packing Company employees got so strong that they actually took over the company. And a year after that happened, the company was no more. We have taken exactly one paycheck since we opened our bar and grill, because we've either put it back into the bar or we've put it back into our employees by supporting them and their lives, which is why we opened, not to make our own bank accounts big. And I say that and I share that, which is not something that we've even shared with our employees, but I share that because it's true and it matters. And there are a lot of small business owners who are in the same boat as us. We care about our communities. We want to create jobs. We want to create an environment where people can come and be together and have great food. And that's why we're here. And so a bill like this, and initially we became involved because of the bill that's going to be coming up that somebody already alluded to. But this is just one of those, also a step in the direction of mandating things for employers that are really going to hurt us and really eventually, or I guess essentially, our employees. So thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Packer. Thank you, Mr. Packer. And you did note that you were testifying from Elgin, Minnesota. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. And I know that we have perhaps some further discussion. We're going to have the committee have a discussion about this bill and some debate and some questions for the author of the bill. And there may be some questions perhaps also that people have for those who have testified. If anyone is able to hang around for a little bit longer, we welcome you to do that for the discussion portion as well. And with that, I will, yes, Senator Pappas, did you have something?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to make a few comments. And of course, we haven't gone through the bill yet, but I just want to thank the Packers and appreciate what a great business they are and how much they care about their employees. And I know there are a lot of businesses who also do. But before we get into the bill, we are really only talking about 6 days a year as the minimum. And if any employer wants to do a higher level of benefit, they certainly can do that. And employees can also donate their earned sick times. But really, the reason for the state to have kind of a floor with this is because not all businesses are so generous and so magnanimous with their employees. But I do appreciate and if I'm ever in Elgin, I'll be sure to stop by the bar.
Thank you,
Please
Senator.
do.
Thank you, Senator Pappas, and thank you, Mr. Packer, and thank you, Ms. Packer, for your testimony. Next in our list of testifiers, our next testifier is on Zoom, Mr. Ben Thuringer, owner of Madden's Resort. Welcome, Mr. Thuringer, to the Senate Labor Committee this afternoon. If you could please state your name and the location where you're testifying from for the record, that would be wonderful. And then we look forward to hearing your testimony. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Ben Thuringer. I'm the COO and one of the third generation owners of Madden's Resort in Brainerd, Minnesota, on Gull Lake, one of Minnesota's largest resorts. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you because this is such an important topic. To us business owners, our employees really are our priority. This is such a crazy labor market. Our employees have to be our top priority. For us, they always have been. Minnesota is a huge hospitality and tourism small business community. And it's all about customer service. Without great employees, we know we can't have that great customer service. Now, one size fits all mandates have not exactly been great for the service industry nor small business because it creates an environment in which we cannot be adaptive to really work with our employees on best solutions. All of a sudden, we're being told what the best solution is rather than being able to craft a solution for that employee. Right behind me, it's very difficult to see, but this is a map of resorts between Gull Lake and Cross Lake in 1950. In 1950, there were 171 resorts that were between Gull Lake and Cross Lake. Now we're down to a little bit over a dozen. And I would definitely argue that a lot of that reduction in resorts has been due to taxation and regulation. Now, I definitely know that once regulation is in place, it's almost impossible to deregulate. That's why all of you have such a huge burden on your shoulders with all of this. And looking at a package that would potentially offer 24 weeks of paid sick and safe is exorbitant. I understand that we need to take care of our sick workers, 100%. To me, the workers mean the most. And to so many small business owners, the workers are a priority. They're our families. We spend the majority of our week with our workers. So it's really important that there's a partnership between small business, large business, and the Senate and House in order to, if something is to be crafted, in order to do that. And for all of you to understand that a one-size-fits-all approach is quite difficult and quite frankly handcuffs the business owners with things that we can do for our employees. I can tell you that as we work on hiring great employees, one of the number one things that's negotiated and looked at is an aggressive benefit package. Sometimes even more than base wage. The benefit package means so much. Now that the cost of healthcare has really grown substantially, the costs are just going insane. When you're talking about a small business that might have a margin of 2 to 5% per year, and that 2 to 5% goes right back into the business, please be careful because 0.7% tax onto the employer means a lot. It doesn't seem like a large percentage, but it is. It really is. It cuts into what we can reinvest into our business. So please acknowledge that that legislation like this can potentially have an adverse effect on the employee, in which all of a sudden we're handcuffed and we can't do the right things for our employees. So with that, I ask that you please look at the one-size-fits-all approach that this has. One size that fits all in one size that fits in a metropolitan area doesn't necessarily fit into a small community like Brainerd or like Elgin. So please look at that and take that into consideration. We have seen too much attempt to one size fits all, and it does have a negative effect on our class. And I really appreciate seeing that there's some immigrants that are testifying in regards to this. We employ 120 immigrants at Madden's. They are hospitality and tourism, they are the lifeblood. And I wish it was easier to get more immigrants into Minnesota working within our small business community. We need them. They are holding us afloat right now, and we need more of them. With that, I really appreciate your time.
Madam Chair, Mr. Thuringer, I think your testimony sounds like it was for family medical leave. This is earned sick time. So this is 6 days a year that we're talking about for people who have just short-term illnesses. I just wanted to clarify that for the committee and for you.
Oh, my apology. I had both in front of me.
Yep. That's in another committee at a later time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thuringer, for joining the Labor Committee this afternoon and for sharing your testimony with us. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too. Next on our list, we have Mr. Tim Ramerth on Zoom. Mr. Ramerth. Hello, Mr. Ramerth. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining the Senate Labor Committee this afternoon. We look forward to hearing your testimony. If you would, please introduce yourself and let us know where you're testifying from this afternoon. That would be great. We look forward to hearing your testimony.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you, Madam Chair and members. My name is Tim Ramerth. I'm in Baxter, Minnesota, and I'm the president with WITSETH. We're an engineering, architecture, surveying, and environmental services firm, and we've got 9 offices throughout greater Minnesota and North Dakota. So I was under the anticipation, too, that this was covering family leave as well as paid sick time, so that might change my topics here a little bit, but I'll try to provide the information, as I've have it available here for me. So, we again are in kind of greater Minnesota. So our current locations, we have Rochester, Mankato, Wyoming, Baxter, Alexandria, Bemidji, Crookston, East Grand Forks, and Grand Forks. And we have about 200 employees. And, we focus on one of our core employee beliefs is that we extend care to our employees. And so, we offer a robust and very competitive employee benefit and compensation package. And despite this, it's still a struggle for us to attract and retain employees. With our different benefits, we offer short-term disability that extends up to 2 years. We offer extended leave up to 4 weeks to get to that 30-day bridge gap for the short-term disability. We just modified our PTO program, and we now offer 3 to 5 weeks for employees, depending on their longevity with our company. And each employee can carry up to 1.5 times their annual accrual rate from year to year. So, this ends up being a pretty good liability for us, but it's important. And because we have to pay this out when an employee leaves our company. We offer parenting time off for parents with new children. And we also have a PTO sharing pool that employees can donate paid time off, and employees can use up to 2 weeks of that on any given year. We do offer time off for voting, jury duty, bereavement, and we also just modified our annual holidays so that we included another floating holiday to assist with these efforts. So I had discussion on here about we currently have 2 employees that are under extended medical leave. I don't know if that employs or applies to this particular conversation, but I think it's relevant in the other topics that we're talking about. These particular employees have been out of the office for between 6 and 8 months, and that's quite an expense, and it creates some additional situations for our employees and us as a business. We are a professional services firm, so if we have to try to fill any vacancies, temporary services just don't work. We have a specialized need that we have for our employees, and sometimes it involves licensure, so we can't fill positions that are gone for extended periods. So what we do is we try to use our existing employees to try to fill those vacancies, but they're already busy and they're being asked to do more with less. And so the way we generate revenue for our companies, we bill for our time. So if we have employees that are out, obviously we lose billable time and potential revenue. If our other staff are working to assist in filling those vacancies, that takes away from time that they're able to provide to our other clients and our other projects, therefore, further limiting our potential for income. So with this, there will be quite an expense. If it's only 6 days, obviously we fall within that realm. But if we start looking at the Family Medical Leave Act that's going to be heard elsewhere at 24 weeks, that's going to be devastating for some small businesses. That's not only the tax and insurance burdens, but it's also trying to get employees to fill those temporary vacancies.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ramerth.
No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, if you consider this, like others had mentioned before, is maybe you consider some flexibility. Maybe it's not a one size fits all. Maybe you consider some exemptions for small businesses or others that offer comparable benefits. So, with that, we want to make sure to thank you for the time as you deliberate this very important topic. So thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramerth. Senator Pappas, did you have anything?
Just to clarify, obviously, it sounds like his PTO policy far exceeds what's required in the bill, so he really wouldn't have to make any changes or do anything.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramerth, for joining the Senate Labor Committee this afternoon. We will be hearing paid family medical leave on Thursday, so perhaps check us out then.
Sure.
But today, we're going to stick to the Earned Sick and Safe Time, Senate File 34. Thank you again for joining us for your testimony. Next, and I believe the last person we have on the list to join us and offer some testimony is Lori Stavnes. And forgive me if I pronounced that wrong.
No, you did. You pronounced it correctly.
Very
Can you
good.
hear me well? Okay, you can. Good.
Yep, we can hear you well. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Senate Labor Committee. If you'd introduce yourself and let us know where you're testifying from, and we'll look forward to hearing your testimony.
Thank you. My name is Lori. I'm joining you from Hibbing, Minnesota. So I'd like to thank you, Chair and members of the committee for allowing me to share today. Like I said, my name is Lori. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a mother, a survivor of gender-based intimate partner violence, IPV, or domestic violence. I'm a former advocate, non-violence group facilitator, and senior social work student. From my experience, I know perpetrators of intimate partner violence often exert great amounts of effort manipulating a victim's personal and worldviews. Victims expend a lot of energy mentally, physically, and emotionally contorting aspects of themselves to find safety. We shouldn't also have to contort ourselves, hide our needs, and risk our financial security in order to address our health and safety concerns and retain employment. Statewide earned sick and safe time was not available to me when I was trying to leave my situation. Navigating systems not set up for me caused me a great deal of stress and anxiety, put me at risk physically and financially, and reduced my options. Having a job was critical to moving myself and my children to a safe environment and safe future. Having a job that was legally obligated to support me after someone else had caused me harm would have been a huge relief, aided in my healing, and increased my options. After all, it's hard to make quote unquote good choices when all your options are less favorable, even more so for those who are facing marginalization and discrimination in addition to experiencing intimate partner violence. As a senior social work student, I'm learning the importance and intersection between micro, meso, and macro systems. As a survivor, I understand how it feels when those systems are signaling to victims whether or not and to what extent they care about our health, well-being, and safety. Passing this bill for statewide earned sick and safe time can help shift attitudes about society's responsibility to support victims. Passing this bill is purposeful, practical, and most probably a life-saving action. It's a statement of support to those victimized by IPV within the state of Minnesota. This bill says that our lives and livelihoods deserve protection. And that's all. Thank you for the opportunity to share my experience and support other victims and survivors.
Thank you, Ms. Stavnes, for your testimony this afternoon. Okay, and I appreciate, would just thank all of the people who offered testimony today in support of the bill and who also voiced any concerns that they may have with it. With that, we'll go ahead and hand it back to the author of the bill, Senator Pappas, to finish running us through some more details about the bill, and following that, we'll have some committee discussion. Senator Pappas.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair and members. And I would appreciate if I could go through the whole bill and then kind of make notes if you have a question along the way. We're working off the A2 delete all amendment. Section 1 in Article 1 merely changes a statutory reference from the existing law governing sick and safe time to the statute proposed in the bill, ensuring that employees can return to their same position at the conclusion of their short-term leave. Section 2 adds a new statutory reference for sick time to Department of Labor and Industries educational worksite poster. That was requested by Dolly. Section 3 contains the definitions. Of note, all employees except independent contractors working at least 80 hours in Minnesota for a single employer would earn sick and safe time to care for themselves or loved ones in the circumstance detailed in Section 1, in Subdivision 1 of Section 3. Section 4 details the minimum standards for accrual of earned sick and safe time, which is 1 hour earned for every 30 hours worked, up to 48 per year, and up to 80 at any given time. So the 80 at any given time can be thought of as a bank of accrued unused sick and safe time that you could carry over to the next year, but no more than 80 hours. Employees begin earning sick time at the start of employment and can use it as it accrues, which for a full-time worker would be 1 day after 6 weeks. Section 5, Subdivision 1 details the allowed uses of earned sick and safe time, including care of oneself or loved one due to physical or mental health needs, domestic abuse, sexual assault, or stalking, or if there's a school or business closure due to weather or public emergency, or the need to quarantine and the ability to telework. Subdivisions 2 through 5 set other conditions, including notice requirements, documentation, prohibiting the need to find a replacement for yourself, and the increments of time that can be used. Subdivision 5, workers can't be made to use more hours than they need. For example, if they're paid by the hour, they can use sick time by the hour and cannot be required to use a full day. Section 5, Subdivision 6 prohibits retaliation against employees who request or use the earned sick and safe time, while Subdivision 7 and 8 protect the employee's position and benefits while using the earned sick and safe time. Subdivision 9 details the employee notice of their rights to earn sick and safe time, and Subdivision 10 allows employees to assess how much earned sick and safe time they have available. Subdivision 11 and 12 focus on employer records and the confidentiality of those records while allowing an employee to assess their own records and prohibiting discrimination based on the information contained in those records. Section 6, Subdivision 1 makes clear that these requirements are a floor and that other paid time off policies can meet the requirements. Also, that construction industry employers can choose to meet these requirements by paying the prevailing wage, whether on a public or private project, since the statute detailing how the prevailing wage is calculated in the construction industry specifically includes paid time off for injury or illness, disability insurance, and vacation time. Subdivision 2 and 3 deal with when an employee is transferred or terminated or the company changes hands and requires employees to be allowed to keep their earned sick and safe time unless the separation from employment is more than 180 days. Section 7 is severability language, which means that if a court would declare any part of the bill unconstitutional, other parts of the bill would still be in place. Section 8 repeals the existing statute governing sick and safe time, and Section 9 is the effective date, which is 180 days following enactment. So businesses have literally 6 months to get ready for this new law. Article 2 of this bill creates the enforcement mechanisms that the Department of Labor and Industry will need to ensure that workers and employers are protected under this bill, which are very similar to the authority that Dolly already has to enforce other wage and hour violations, including increasing the maximum civil penalties for refusal to submit required records, applying existing compliance order authority to sick and safe time in Section 2, increasing the maximum penalties for repeated and willful violations in Section 3, rulemaking authority, the statute of limitations, allowance for outreach grants, an annual report, and joint liability for those who hire subcontractors known to have violated sick time laws in Section 4, and substituting this new statutory reference into the existing private right of action around sick time in Section 5. Finally, Article 3 contains the appropriation I can save the details for the Finance Committee, but the main components are the funding for fiscal year '24 and '25 for the Department of Labor to fund education and outreach staff, investigators, one-time rulemaking cost, updates to existing labor standards, and their ongoing base. And then there is outreach grants of $300,000 to go to community-based organizations to do education and outreach to workers, and a little bit of money for printing costs. Madam Chair, that's just a summary of the bill. And so I went a little fast, but I wanted to make sure that we had plenty of time for discussion, and I'll just save my closing costs for before we vote, my closing comments.
Thank you very much, Senator Pappas. And with that, I will go ahead and open it up to discussion with our Labor Committee. Yes, Senator Dornick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to thank the testifiers, both the ones that were here that are gone now and those that are still online. We appreciate your work as the employers, but also, or employees, but also the employer's business. We appreciate you taking a risk and starting a business. So I got first a little bit about the testifiers that I heard all came from Greater Minnesota, and we heard from most of the workers, not all, were from St. Paul, Minneapolis, and big business. So that is kind of the crutch of the problem here, is we're this one size fits all. Minnesota, or Greater Minnesota is not Minneapolis, St. Paul. Small business, as we heard, have a relationship with their employees. And it's just really nice and good to hear. That's what I've experienced through my career, both as a worker and as a business owner. My question to Senator Pappas is, have you reached out to small businesses in Greater Minnesota to hear from them, and what are they asking for?
Thank you, Senator Dornick. Senator Pappas?
Mr. Chairman and Senator Dornick, as you know, this is the first time we've had a hearing in the Senate. And so the House has had, though, extensive hearings. They've passed it twice in committee and twice on the floor. So I think there has been plenty of opportunity for the bill to be influenced and heard and allowed for input from small businesses. You notice that it's a very minimal account, 6 days. Most companies would offer, 12 days to 2 weeks a year. It's pretty minimum. We do feel that, the reasons why people need to leave, sometimes it may just be a half day, it won't even be a full day, if they need to go to a doctor's appointment for themselves or their child. So I think that this should be workable for our businesses in the state.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. And I would add on to that, just for all of the members in reference, but this is a convenient time to note it. In your packets, in our folders, you'll notice that there are some letters that we have received, and among those letters we have received from some small businesses in Duluth, where we also have an earned sick and safe time ordinance there. And so there are some businesses that do support it and detail why they do support earned sick and safe time out of the metro in Duluth. So I just wanted to note that.
And obviously, Madam Chair, we do have small businesses in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and frankly, we have never heard of any problems. They were involved in shaping the bill. Most of this bill is modeled after those bills that have been out there and kind of testing it to see if there are any problems, and we really have not heard from anyone. I think, the reality is we do have a workforce shortage, and you need to be able to offer a minimum amount of benefits in order to keep employees working for you.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Dornick, do you have any follow-up with that?
Madam Chair, please. So I guess I was just asking if you personally had heard. I have been getting lots of emails. I, over the weekend, stopped at a few business owners and discussed some of the bill, and most of them are working really hard, so they don't have time to pay attention to many things that we do up here. So I was just asking specifically if you have heard from constituents from Greater Minnesota wanting this, and I heard there was a few businesses. I haven't had time to read because this has come really, really quickly. So,
Madam Chair, Senator Dornick, I have not. I have not heard from anyone.
Follow up, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Senator Dornick.
So I'm going to move to more part-time workers. So we got farmers and also resort owners, as one gentleman spoke about that. And golf courses I'm thinking of that hire part-time workers. And my son happens to work the golf course, and my other children have worked at picking rocks, and many times they had more than 80 hours, 100, 120, 140 hours that they picked rock. And so under this bill, you're saying that now this farmer or these resort owners, depending on the hours, they have to keep track of that and also pay that for just part-time work.
Thank you, Senator Dornick. Senator Pappas?
Madam Chair, Senator Dornick, I mean, part-time workers get sick too. And they may also be depending on that income that they're making. Maybe they have 2 part-time jobs. It doesn't go into effect, remember, until you've worked at least 80 hours in Minnesota. So some part-time workers won't reach that threshold. And also, you don't accrue any sick time until you've worked for 6 weeks. So I think those are kind of reasonable limitations for part-time workers.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Any
One last question.
further up? Yeah.
So I guess my final comment would be, well, not my final, but on this one, I'll let others speak, but I'd like to continue with a few more questions, would be, this has come through really quick, and I know one of the testifiers asked if you would consider some flexibility, maybe some amendments to make this better. Would you be open to that?
Thank you, Senator Dornick. Senator Pappas, do you care to comment on that?
Madam Chair, Senator Dornick, it depends what the amendment is.
All right,
I do
well, thank
have
you.
one. I did have someone approach me about a clarification and definition, so I do have one amendment myself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Thank you, Senator Dornick. Senator Gruenhagen.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Pappas. Yeah, I think all of us empathize with people who have been sick and have to choose between going to work or whatever. And as you heard from some of the employers here, and I've been an employee and an employer, okay? I currently own my own business. So, I mean, we want to help these people as much as possible, and I've done so in my own business. But be that as it may, you can say, well, the ones who testified are doing something, but then we have certain situations that aren't being taken care of. Well, I would give you this illustration to think about, Senator Pappas. And I know your intent is good, okay? But I think you heard loud and clear from the testimony from the business owners about one size fits all and some of the negative consequences that can come out of that, whether it's people not getting a job or draining money for other benefits into this benefit, and therefore having less benefits in other areas to try to compensate for this. We have, in the packet, and I'm sure you've seen this from NFIB, they represent about 10,000 small businesses. They say that a small business with 4 employees in the Twin Cities, the cost would per year would go from $5,760 the first year to over $9,600 in future years. In Greater Mankato, it would go, based on their analysis, it would go from $4,723 up to $7,872 in future years. In Moorhead, it would go for, again, a business with 4 employees, a cost of $4,896 the first year, up to $8,160 the next year, or in future years. So there is going to be a cost, especially on small businesses. And I would ask you to think about this in relationship to this bill. We could take a carrot or a stick approach, okay? And what I mean by that, when I look at this bill, there's a lot of sticks in here, okay? Especially for the employers. And if you don't do it this way, we're going to fine you or penalize or whatever if you fail to cooperate. While the carrot approach would be a bill that would have some parameters in order to qualify, but it would have a tax credit for businesses that implemented a sick and safe leave policy. So therefore, you put a carrot out there, and they actually save money in terms of state taxes if they implement something for their employees. So again, government is very good with the stick approach, which unfortunately can have negative ripple effects through our economy, but government doesn't look very often at a carrot approach. And I would dare say in a tight labor market with a lot of competition for employees, which I'm well familiar with in my area, that a carrot approach could have much better results and better participation by employers and benefits for the employee versus the stick approach. Now, you can always come with the stick approach, okay? But I would just ask you to entertain the idea of a carrot approach and the benefits for both employers, employees, and the private sector. I do have one follow-up. So if Senator Pappas has a response to those comments, I'd appreciate hearing it. I do have one follow-up question.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Grunhagen, as you said, in a tight labor market, I believe that most employers are already surpassing. This is really just the bare minimum. I'm sure it's far more standard that you would accrue, 1 day a month, 12 days a year, 2 weeks a year for PTO to be used for, family illnesses or doctor's appointments or whatever. So we're just trying to set a really basic floor here.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Grunhagen.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I'd ask you to just think about that, okay? Especially on the small businesses, that have 2, 3, 4, or even a dozen employees. It's really going to have a negative ripple effect, in my opinion, having been on both sides of that issue, both as an employee and an employer. The other question I have, and I have about a dozen of them, but after this question, I'll quit, is on your amendment on page 6.6 to line 6.9, which would be on page 6, basically, it gives the employee who utilizes this benefit with the employer, they can have, as far as documentation for sick or safe time, they can simply, if I'm reading this correctly, a written statement from the employee indicating that the employee is using or used sick or safe time. So basically, they can just write a statement, my stomach was upset, or, whatever it might be, and that's why I didn't come in, I still want to get paid. So I don't see anything, and again, I just perused the bill shortly, but I don't see anything in here for a consequence that the employer can impose for employees who abuse or use this law fraudulently in order just to collect the benefit from it. Am I missing something, Senator Pappas, or how do you address any type of an employee who, has fraud or simply abuses this system?
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. Senator Pappas.
Madam Chair, Senator Grunhagen, how do we police if a legislator says they're sick and they have to vote remotely? Do we go to their house and check to make sure they're really sick? I mean, this is kind of people are going to be honest, trust that people are going to do the right thing. They know that they may be leaving their fellow employees or their employer in the lurch if they don't come in, so they're probably going to be pretty sick. And yet, they may not be sick enough to go to the doctor, or they may not be able to afford to go to the doctor. So, the fact that we're saying that they have to at least sign a written statement I think is enough of a requirement that we have to trust that we basically have an honest society and that people are not going to cheat.
Madam Chair, just quick.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Gruenhagen, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just a quick response to that. Yeah, I think any newspaper will tell you that there are problems out there, human nature being what it is. And I want to believe that, everybody wants to be honest too, but obviously if you pick up a newspaper, that isn't the case. And the interesting thing, you talked about legislators saying they're sick and they zoom in. Well, according to the rules we passed on the Senate floor, they at least get a penalty of per diem, okay? So they do pay a consequence. When I read this bill, there's no consequence for abusing and submitting fraudulent claims other than to just milk the system. So I'd strongly urge you to come up with some type of consequence, similar. Even us legislators.
Thank you, Senator Gruenhagen.
Madam Chair and Senator Gruenhagen, you also have to think that if you only have 6 days a year, why would you want to abuse it? Because what if, when you're not really sick or you don't really have some kind of a family emergency? Seems to me you have to, just thinking logically, you better save those days for when you really need them because you're not getting very many. Because after those sick days, unless your employer has a different policy, you're not going to get paid.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Anything further, Senator Gruenhagen?
I would agree with that statement, except I served 16 years on my local school board, and I saw things quite differently at times with some of the employees. Not all, most were above board, but there were exceptions, and this bill does nothing to address any type of exceptions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Gruenhagen. And I would note that I believe in the A2 amendment, the documentation requirement is only for situations where an employee is using 3 or more days worth of the accrued earned sick and safe time. And I also believe, for the record, that the Senate voted not to accept per diem when, for members who are voting remotely, they are not to be given per diem, but that, I guess
They still get their salary, though.
Yes, they get their salary, and it seems to me somewhat of a separate matter because it's regardless of the reason that they give for voting remotely. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Senator Housechild.
Thank you, Chair McEwen. I had a question for one of the testifiers, and I'm just trying to make sure that I understand, because we heard from a lot of small businesses about sort of the need for flexibility. And I know in my district, District 3, which is the Arrowhead, very rural district, I do have a lot of small businesses. I had a lot of tourism, hospitality, a lot of those types of businesses. So to Mr. or Mrs. Packer, are you still on the line? I believe I said that.
I'm here. I am here.
I'm trying to thank you for your testimony and for the great business that you run. What I'm trying to figure out is sort of that flexibility standpoint. So for your employees, do you all provide an hour of PTO for 30 hours worked right now?
We do not right now. What we provide is, so I'll just use, I won't say names, but if someone is sick, they call and we don't want them to come in, obviously. We have paid them if some of them don't want to, they just want to take the day, and we pay them well. I think we pay them above average. And so that was one of the things that as we're looking at this bill, we're considering, are we going to have to freeze, bonuses? I mean, we have one particular cook who, when he joined us, he was making $13 an hour. Kind of at starting, and we already have him up to $18 an hour based on his performance, and in less than a year, that's a pretty big jump. And not having any grill experience, we train our employees, and so that's just one example of, we wouldn't be able to, if we have to pay him sick time, we won't be able to pay him as much. And wages right now are important. I mean, there's even people in the credit union industry who are employing part-time people as part of their model and paying them about $6 more an hour for starting pay than my credit union pays. So it's not just, very small businesses, but there are young people who are very wage driven right now. They are healthier. They don't get sick. They didn't get as sick from COVID. And so that's who a lot of our employees are. They're going to college. If they get sick, we have enough people. We're able to have enough people that they can essentially find someone to work for them. It's not been a problem. But if we have to look at, the first year, 6 days, and the second year, 10 days, and you guys are talking about 6 days, but really it could be increased the second year. And we want to keep our employees, happy, but we don't offer anything right now on the books straight across the board. It's just kind of looking at. And I was going to also comment, the only way I actually heard about this was I subscribed to the Star Tribune. So I happened to see the article about the 24-month, which would, by the way, effectively put us out of business. I'm just going to tell you, we're not going to be here able to come on Thursday, but that would be a real kick in the pants for us if we had to do that. So that's why we're here testifying, trying to just say something. But I hadn't heard about it other than the Star Tribune. And I reached out to my representative, Steve Trzarski, and he told me about, how we could come and say a few words. But I don't know that a lot of people down here even know that this is up for vote right now.
Thank you, Ms. Packer.
Oh, sorry.
Senator Houschild.
Ms. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Packer. So just so I'm understanding, so do you offer any PTO to your employees? Is that, you're saying you don't offer any PTO?
We don't offer PTO right now.
Okay.
We just hit a year, so we do have plans to include it. But it's hard to start a business off the ground, and especially when we have things to fix, we put all the money that we've earned back into the business in the form of our employees or the building.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
just a short comment that, if your employees aren't sick and they don't use the sick time, there's no cost to you. And that they carry over their years to the second year, but we don't increase the number. It's still just 6 days a year. If they didn't use them in the first year, they can carry over up to 80 hours to the second year.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Further discussion or questions from our members?
Then, Madam Chair, I do have another amendment, I believe.
Okay, Senator Pappas, to your amendment.
I have not seen the amendment, and if Judy Cook is here, Judy could come up and explain it. I've seen the language.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Well, and I think we're getting it passed out right now as well. Okay, it looks like this is the A11. While we get that passed out, perhaps we can go ahead and hear about the amendment.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, my name is Judy Cook with Cook Strong Selwood, representing Insperity, which is a PEO, a professional employer organization. And this language would be consistent with what's in the Minneapolis ordinance and also consistent with Minnesota unemployment insurance law. Just to let you know, employee leasing company provides comprehensive human resources solutions such as payroll processing, employee benefits administration, tax administration, regulatory compliance for small and mid-sized businesses. And this language would provide clarification under the definition of an employer so that businesses, tax-paying employers in a PEO relationship, it would be consistent with the intent of the law. It would not provide special treatment for businesses that use a PEO, but rather ensure they are treated the same as other similar businesses and align with Minnesota's unemployment insurance law. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cook. Are there any questions for Ms. Cook or Senator Pappas about the A11 amendment?
Madam Chair, I support the amendment, and I'll move the A11 amendment.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Seeing no further discussion, Senator Pappas has moved the A11 amendment to amend the delete everything amendment, the A2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the A11 amendment passes and has been adopted. All right, I think, yes, Senator Dornick. Senator Dornick, you have an amendment? Okay. While we're getting a copy of it, I think, do we have a copy?
A6 amendment?
It's the A6 amendment. Senator Dornick is offering the A6 amendment. And
Speak to it.
yes, go ahead and speak to it while we're getting it passed out here, Senator Dornick.
Madam Chair. So we heard, excuse me, 80% of the business from one of the, I think it was a chamber testifier, said that in her group is already doing it. And small businesses are continuing to struggle. Rising costs is continuing to be a problem. And then we heard one of the testifiers too said she will go out, or they will go out of business, not on this one, but the family paid leave one. But this one and that one together is a very bad for a small business. And she also mentioned it's very hard to start a small business. But for this one, what I'd like to do is to exempt and make this not affect those small businesses. So to 50 or more employees this would apply to, and those that have 50 or less, it would not. And there's 3 states, including Connecticut, Michigan, and Nevada, that have this exemption already. So that, and I'd like to request a roll call too.
Thank you, Senator Dornick. Senator Dornick has requested a roll call. A roll call will be granted. Senator Pappas.
Madam Chair, I appreciate Senator Dornick's concern, but our experience with we have not had an issue in at least the 3 cities that have passed this with small businesses having trouble with complying with the law. So I would respectfully oppose the amendment.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. On the A6 amendment, Senator Grunhagen.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I would encourage members to vote for this amendment. Having started a small business from scratch, okay, and I literally mean scratch, okay, and fortunately it's gone well. I forget what the statistic is, but I think in 5 years, when you start a small business, over 90% of the small businesses fail in the first 5 years. And then when we add additional requirements on top of that, plus we're a high tax and regulatory state, it makes it even more difficult. In fact, I refer to myself in my small business as chief cook and bottle washer, okay? In other words, nothing happens unless you're there and make sure it happens. Before I came here today, I got up right at 5 o'clock. I got cleaned up, went to the office, prepared for my secretary coming in, my 2 secretaries, and also the agents that work for me. So I left the office, or I left for here right around 7 o'clock. That's what a small business owner does. I get up before other people, and I go home after other people. Plus, I do stuff at home to keep the business going. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about my business and my customers and what I can do to meet their needs and also to build my business. Try it sometime if you haven't, okay? It's not easy. And to put this onerous on small businesses starting out, and again, this is just one more. There's plenty out there already. I just think is a step in the wrong direction and punishing people who want to try to create jobs and make a better economy. Again, I go back to the carrot and the stick. Let's develop a carrot, not use the stick of government. And I think that can be done in order to accomplish the same goal. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. Senator Pappas, I'll give you a chance to respond first before I go to Senator.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say that over 40% of the state workforce works for employers under 50. So that's a huge carve out for workers that wouldn't have access to paid sick time. Also that the other states and cities that have had this kind of an exemption are actually working their way out of that. They're lowering the threshold to similar to what we have.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Dornick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. So just a quick comment on the St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Duluth. Those, they're going with the one size fits all. We're talking about greater Minnesota. It's not the big city. It's small business, so it's not the same. And this is going to hurt business. I urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dornick. I know Duluthians will be surprised to hear we're the big city. I'm going to have to tell people about that. But thank you for offering the amendment. A roll call has been requested, so we will have a roll call on the A6 amendment. Could you please, oh, I'm sorry, Senator Liskey, you have something quick?
Yeah, I just was going to ask if the roll call can be reported in the journal.
Thank you for that request, Senator Liskey. Do we have 3 people requesting that this be reported? Yes, we do. All right, so it will be reported at the roll call. And we'll proceed with the roll call.
McEwen.
No on the amendment.
Hauschild.
No.
Dornick.
Yes.
Grunhagen.
Yes.
Kupek. Not here. Marty.
No.
Verbatim.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Wiesenberg.
Yes.
3 yes. Oh, and I did skip Liskey. So sorry. Liskey.
Yes.
So it's 4 yeses. Yep.
There being 4 yeses and 5 noes, the A6 amendment does not pass. Anything further? Yes, Senator Dornick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have another amendment.
What is your amendment, Senator Dornick? The A7, we'll pass out the A7 amendment, and you can go ahead and tell us about it, Senator Dornick.
This is another a good change. That would give more flexibility, what we talked about, and it would insert 90 days instead of accruing right away, and it would help these small businesses that are just using part-time work, especially summer help. 90 days would be very beneficial. It would, as far as the cost, the hassle, somebody works, as I mentioned, rock picking or baling hay or whatever for a farmer, or golf course or whatever. So this is just a 90 days to delay that to help our small businesses that are just hiring part-time work over the summer especially. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dornick. Senator Pappas, have you received a copy?
Yes. Madam Chair, I would oppose the amendment. I think our threshold of 6 weeks before they begin to accrue commencement is generous. I mean, because people obviously could still get sick within that 6 weeks and lose out on pay. So I think having to wait a full 3 months is too long. So I would oppose the amendment.
Thank you,
Ask
Senator.
members to vote no.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Dornick?
Madam Chair, thank you. So it starts accruing from day 1, correct?
Thank you, Senator Pappas.
Madam Chair, it starts accruing from day 1, but you can't use it until 6 weeks.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Dornick?
This just pushes it back so it starts to accrue, but the employer would have to keep track of that stuff and have that responsibility. So what we're trying to do is make it easier on small businesses not to have to do that paperwork. There's so much paperwork that goes into a small business owner. I mean, they spend so much time with all the stuff that Minnesota is a high tax state, very high regulation. This is just another piece of paper that they're going to have to deal with. So I urge your support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Dornick. Senator Pappas, any final words or response? No. Committee members, any further discussion? All right. All in favor of the A7 amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Opposed? No. The amendment fails. Any further discussion? Senator Grunhagen.
Oh, division on that vote, just to see where people stand?
Let me just speak with our council real quick, Senator Grunhagen, just a moment. Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. We can go ahead and do a division. A division has been requested by Senator Grunhagen. We will demonstrate the division by a show of hands, if we could just do that. Okay, so on the A7 amendment that had been offered by Senator Dornick, all those in favor, could you please raise your hands? Okay, on the A7 amendment, all opposed, raise your hands. Okay, and again, thank you. And it appears the division shows a vote of 5-4, meaning that the A7 amendment did not pass. Thank you. Any further discussion from members? Yes, Senator Wiesenberg.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to oppose the A8 amendment.
Okay, Senator Wiesenberg is offering the A8 amendment. Senator Wiesenberg, while we're having the amendment passed out, go ahead and please tell us about your amendment.
This would modify the definition of employee to require an employee to work for at least 18 hours a week before the employer, for an employee to, let me start over. Modifies the definition of employee to require an employee to work for at least 18 hours per week for an employee to be eligible for earned sick and safe time. I just think this would help get people to buy into a company. You know, if you're working somewhere and if you're a hard worker, this is going to make you stay there, you know. So if you're really working there and we're trying to help you, you know, with this sick and safe time, you're probably working 40 hours a week anyway. And if this is something for part-time, you might be doing it for extra money and you might not need the sick and safe time. So.
Thank you, Senator Wiesenberg. Senator Pappas.
Madam Chair, I'm trying to just understand how this works. So instead of somebody who works 80 hours a year to be covered, you'd have to work 18 hours a week to be covered. So if you work less than 18 hours a week. I guess my argument would be the same. I mean, you still have to accrue, 48 hours before you, or 30 hours before you get one day. And like I said, people still get sick even if they just need to leave work an hour early. And nowadays, a lot of people are working multiple part-time jobs, and they don't have the kind of benefits with any one job that can provide them with the kind of support they need. So it's an interesting idea, Senator Liskey, but I'll oppose it. I'm sorry. Senator Wiehagen.
Yes, Senator Wiesenberg. Thank you, Senator Pappas.
Sorry, Senator Wiesenberg.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. I know I've worked multiple jobs. I've worked 3 jobs at a time, full-time for a long time. And there were times where I missed work because something happened, but there are opportunities too. I think that if let's say I was working at G. Allen's, it's a bar restaurant. If I missed a day, I would trade with somebody, and then I wouldn't be losing money. We would just trade days. So someone would take my day, and then because I had a day off, but then I would take their day. So this would not impose the government pushing that on a business, and we were able to take care of that ourselves because we need money. So if we missed a day, we weren't losing money. We were just trading days. So if I were sick for some reason, I would get off. Someone else would work, and then they would get an extra day off, and I would work for them. So that's an idea of something we can talk about that. Like you said, people are honest and people can do that thing. So,
Madam Chair, and people could still do that. They could still trade if they needed a day off for a reason that wasn't covered under the bill. If they had a friend in from out of town or a birthday party or something, they could still kind of trade it off. What we're trying to do here is just develop a floor. I mean, if you're really, really sick and you have to find someone to replace you at the restaurant, that can be hard for you to be able to do that. Because you're sick, you're throwing up or whatever, or your kid is really sick. So we're just trying to relieve some of that burden on sick people so they don't have to think about that.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Wiesenberg.
yep, I would just like to call a roll call vote and have it recorded.
You're asking
recorded.
for a
Yep.
roll call vote and for it to be recorded?
Yes.
And are there 3 people asking that it be recorded? There are 3 members, so there has been a roll call requested, and the vote will be recorded. Please take the roll on the A8 amendment. Oh, excuse me, wait, hold that. Senator Grunhagen, quickly, please.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, you know, if I'm understanding this correctly, it's 80 hours a year, and we want to go to 18 hours a week. So if you take, just say 50 weeks in a year, divided into 80, they can work 1.6 hours a week, and you got to keep track of that. Okay? I mean, number one, I work probably 50, 60 hours a week between here and my business, and yet I'm supposed to keep track of 1.6 hours. So if I have somebody come in because somebody's sick, just to answer the phone and have somebody there, I'm gonna have to keep track of that, because who knows, they might wind up with 80 hours by the end of the year. It just seems onerous again, and that this amendment is quite reasonable, and I would ask people to take off their Republican or Democrat hats and vote for what's good for the employees and the employers, and I think 18 is quite reasonable. So I'd urge members to vote yes on this amendment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. Senator Pappas.
Madam Chair, I really don't understand this paperwork complaint, because employers have to keep track of their workers and the number of hours they work, so they know what they pay them. And maybe you have a payroll system that does that for you. So I just don't see why this is such a big deal. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Wiesenberg, did you have any last comment, because this was your amendment?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, very good. Let's go ahead then, and we're going to proceed to the roll on the A8 amendment.
On the AA amendment, McEwen,
No.
Housechild. No. Dornick. Yes. Grunhagen.
Yes.
Liskey.
Yes.
Marty. No. Umu Verbatim.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Wiesenberg.
Yes.
There having been 4 yeses and 5 noes on the A8 amendment, the amendment does not pass. Yes, Senator Wiesenberg.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to offer the A9 amendment.
Senator Wiesenberg is offering the A9 amendment while it's being passed out. Please go ahead, Senator Wiesenberg.
This would remove the increase in penalties for failure to provide records and obey compliance orders. Currently in the bill, it says that you would be paying $10,000 if you had a penalty, and the amendment would reduce it back down to $1,000. I feel like that's a lot of money. I mean, we could accidentally do something, and then we're going to get fined $10,000. But also, I have a question on page 7. Might be a different, 7.8, I'll just read what this says.
Senator Wiesenberg, is this to the amendment that you've raised, or is this a separate question for Senator Pappas?
This would be to the amendment, because if I'm trying to look out for the best interest of my business and I report something that's illegal, and then I get fined for reporting something illegal, I need to be able to understand what this is saying here. So
If it's to the amendment, go ahead.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that we're sticking to
it says here in 7.8, it shall be unlawful for an employer or any other person to report or threaten to report the actual or suspected citizenship or immigration status of a person or family member to a federal, state, or local agency for exercising or attempting to exercise any right protected under this act. So I guess my concern is, if I was given, let's say I'm given false documentation by somebody and I find out they're not a citizen, and I report them for being illegal, now I'm going to get fined $10,000. And I don't think that's fair to an employer for upholding the law, because we can't employ illegal people.
Thank you, Senator Wiesenberg. Senator Pappas.
Madam Chair, I think we're just trying to say that this is retaliation. If a worker asks for sick time off, that you could retaliate against them by reporting them to immigration. And members, we know the reality is there are people who are undocumented in this country and that our economy depends on them to a great extent. So, that could be another issue that we could discuss, but in terms of the fines that you're talking about, the issue is just, follow the law, give your employees their paid time off, that their earned sick and safe time, and then there won't be any issue. And the commissioner, we could always bring her up here, they're pretty lenient in terms of how they work with businesses. I mean, they're perfectly willing to just send a warning letter. And most employers will say, oh, yeah, I didn't realize that there was this new law. Honest mistakes can happen. So that's why they just send a warning letter. The business says, oh, I didn't realize, I'll comply with the law. And that's kind of the end of story. So these types of leveling, these types of fines are very rare, and they're really for the more egregious offenses.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Wiesenberg, briefly, and then I have Senator Green.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Maybe I want to make sure we're not, by passing this bill, breaking the law. We can't be employing people who aren't citizens. So that's what I read here, is if I were to find someone who's an illegal person in the United States and I turn them in, no, I'm going to get fined, and I don't think that's fair to an employer. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Greenhagen, or Senator Greenhagen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just say I'd urge support of this amendment. Members, think about it. A business owner could make an honest mistake, and he's going to be fined $10,000 right off the bat, or he could be. And I know Senator Pappas said, well, the commissioner is reasonable. Well, I've dealt with a couple of fine situations where it was a first-time basis for that business making a mistake, and I spent a lot of time trying to get them to reduce that fine, and I was met with a stone wall from the agency. And nope, he's got to pay it. And again, I think as human beings, we want to be a little bit reasonable for somebody who, makes a mistake and is subject to the fine versus somebody who consistently breaks the law and knowingly does it. There's a difference in our legal system about that also. So I would encourage Senator Pappas to have have language. I know what you said, and I appreciate that, Senator Pappas, but it would be nice to have some language in there. And I think if we look at a lot of penalties, even in our criminal code, it's graduated. If the person does the same crime over and over again, the penalty can be higher versus the first time, and our statutes recognize that. So, I mean, if you take a small business with 2 employees and he makes one mistake and you happen to have somebody at the agency who simply wants to apply the penalty, he's got to come up with $10,000. That basically, leaves him few options. And if he's just trying to get started, like I was 30-some years ago, $10,000 would put you under. So a graduated table, if you're not going to accept this amendment, and language about some accommodation for a mistake versus deliberate, intentional breaking of the law would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. Senator Wiesenberg.
I would like to call a roll call and have this recorded also.
Okay, the roll call has been requested. Roll call will be granted. Do we have 3 people requesting that this be recorded in the journal? We do. It will be. Let's go ahead then, without further discussion, and call the roll on the. Yes, Senator Pappas.
If I could, I just want to make a comment that Senator Grunhagen and Senator Wiesenberger, I'm perfectly willing to take a look at this. I would prefer not to delete it now because I'd like to have the Judiciary Committee take a look at it and make sure that it's consistent with what other fines we have in other parts of our statutes. But I'd really like to leave it for now.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and take the roll on the A9 amendment.
A9 amendment. McEwen.
No.
Housechild.
No.
Dornick.
Yes.
Grunhagen.
Yes.
Liskey.
Yes.
Marty. Verbatim.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Weisenberg.
Yes.
4 noes and 3 yeses. Sorry. Apologies. 4 yeses, 5 noes.
Thank you. The A9 amendment does not pass. Any further discussion, members? Yes, Senator Liskey.
I would like to move the A10 amendment and request a roll call and have it reported in the journal. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Liskey. A roll call has been requested. It will be granted. We have 3 members requesting that the vote be recorded in the journal. We do, so it will be. Senator Liskey to the A10 amendment.
Madam Chair, this amendment here is strictly to help those startups that we would hopefully be having here in Minnesota as we're discussing how the labor industry is struggling. This amendment here would basically give all businesses a 2-year exemption to get started and get running. So that's all I'm asking.
Thank you, Senator Liskey. Senator Pappas.
Madam Chair, I really all I can say is that people get sick during the 2 years of a new business. And I know that if you're really a good employee and you're trying to help you want to keep your jobs, you want the business to succeed, you're not going to call in sick unless you really need it. So I really don't think this is necessary or a good idea.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Grunhagen, very briefly, please.
If you didn't bring bills that irritated me, I wouldn't talk so much. Just kidding. No, I know the intent I understand the intent, okay? And I know that is well-meaning that way. But I would encourage some type of flexibility, Senator Pappas, on this. If not 2 years, something. If you've never started a business from scratch, and this is probably why I have a strong opinion about this, because I've done it from scratch, okay? And that means working all day and many nights, and even on the weekend, to the point where your spouse, in my case, my wife, aren't you ever going to stay home and be with the kids? Well, I'm out there. That's what's going on. That's the reality of it. And then to come with this, well, you got to do this right away. I mean, it's just one more thing in a high-tax regulatory. So give them some, I urge you, Senator Pappas, to give them some type of consideration. Even a year would help to let people get orientated a little bit. When you start a small business from scratch, you're probably not going to hire 100 employees that day, all right? So if you start out with 3 or 4, probably that's more than most of them. Usually it's just one person in a garage. I mean, Bill Gates started in a garage by himself. And, so just give them a little bit of accommodation in the future. I know you're probably going to vote this down now, but I just encourage you to think about that. Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen, and you're right, I'd urge people to vote it down now.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Any further discussion on the A10 amendment? Yes, Senator Liskey.
So, Senator Pappas, I understand that your stance is against this amendment, and that's fine. I just want to speak as to why I'm for it. I helped a friend of mine open a restaurant very close to my home, actually in the same hometown as where I'm at. And he opened this restaurant right before COVID. And so about as bad as you could imagine. Signed the paperwork to purchase the business right before COVID. And then he had to obviously wait for an extended window of time, and it's a restaurant. So we were sitting there, and I was helping him kind of get things organized, and got up and running as soon as things started to lift. And yes, COVID is an extremely scary thing, and like you said, people get sick. The one thing in this specific industry with where it is being a restaurant, you can't come to work sick. But the thing is, when you sign up to be a server, you sign up to be an employee of these types of businesses, you understand that this is a brand new business. You understand that this business owner is throwing everything on the line to start this business. And so you kind of sign up for that. You get stuck with the idea of, yeah, I understand I get sick, and unfortunately I can't go to work, but I'm not going to get paid because neither is my employer. He's not getting paid for me to not be there either. So it's not like he's making more money by having me not there, or he's not still making the same income. If a server showed up sick, there was only 2 servers on, you can only serve so many people. His income now is directly tied to the fact that that employee can't show up. So he doesn't have the ability to pay that employee for being sick. So I strongly urge a yes vote here.
Thank you, Senator Liskey.
And Madam
Yes,
Chair,
Senator
Senator
Pappas.
Liskey, you know, in a situation where you had to temporarily suspend the restaurant and you had to lay off your employees, that you're not required to pay them if they're laid off.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Thank you, Senator Liskey.
Yeah, just to that, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking after when he restarted, so the business was open and running. So he had to rehire everybody. He didn't lay them off. They were working. That's what I was speaking to.
Thank you, Senator Liskey. Okay, with that, a roll call has been requested, and we will now take the roll on the A10 amendment.
A10 amendment. McEwen.
No.
Hauschild. No. Dornick.
Yes.
Grunhagen.
Yes.
Liskey.
Yes.
Marty. Verbaten.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Wiesenberg.
Yes.
5 noes, 4 yeses.
Thank you. With 5 voting no and 4 voting yes, the A10 amendment does not pass. Senator Liskey.
I'd like to move the A5 amendment, and I was told that the language needed to be orally amended. So if council could help with that, that'd be great.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Liskey. Senator Liskey, we are having this passed out right now. Could you please, to your amendment?
So as it's getting amended, basically, instead of the state saying that the taxpayers will be paying for it, I view the same thing should be applied from what's being applied to small business. The state should have to deal with the fact that there's going to be a cost to this, and instead of increasing the appropriations to cover the state employees, the state should have to participate just like a small business.
Madam Chair, members, the oral amendment to the A5 amendment would be on line .13, delete 10 and insert 18. So it would include a couple of other paragraphs within the deletion of the appropriations.
Thank you very much. Senator Liskey.
So I strongly urge you vote yes, as like I said, it puts the onus on all of us, not just the businesses themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Liskey. Senator Pappas, do you have?
Madam Chair, this is really something that I need to work out with the Finance Committee, so I would prefer not to do anything on this section and then deal with it in Finance.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Liskey.
And I would like to request a roll call and have it reported in the Journal. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Liskey. A roll call will be granted. And do we have 3 people requesting that this be printed? We do, so it will. Without further discussion, yes, Senator Dornick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It just was interesting, a little bit ago I heard that to do the paperwork doesn't cost anything for small businesses, but yet here we see that it does. So it does cost money to do paperwork. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dornick. Anything further? I guess what I had heard in our discussion previously is not that paperwork didn't cost anything, but that the amendment that we had heard earlier wouldn't change the amount of paperwork that would be required. That's just my own comment. Is there anything else? Yes, Senator Liskey.
Well, based on what you just said, then I would be concerned as to why the state would present that does cost money to change the paperwork. It's kind of what Senator Dornick was just talking about.
Thank you, Senator Liskey. Anything further? Okay. A roll call has been requested on the A5 amendment, so we will go to roll call.
A5. McEwen.
No.
Hauschild. No. Dornick.
Yes.
Grunhagen.
Yes.
Liskey.
Yes.
Marty. Verbaten.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Wiesenberg.
Yes.
5 noes and 4 yeses.
Thank you. The A5 amendment does not pass. Yes, Senator Grunhagen.
I have a couple amendments I'd like to offer.
Go ahead, Senator.
Okay, I'd like to offer the A3, and it kind of supplements in some ways the A5. You know, it's interesting, we're appropriating money to help government implement this bill, and yet we aren't doing anything to help small businesses appropriate this bill. Seems like a little bit of a contradiction. You know, even school districts, small school districts who might have less than 50 certified staff, they're going to have increased costs. And we know how hard it is to pass referendums in some of these areas in the state of Minnesota for our schools. So I would, this is a blank appropriation, so a fiscal cost would have to be figured out, but it puts language into the bill that would appropriate to small businesses with 50 or fewer employees to cover the cost for time card and human resource requirements. And I would request a roll call and a journal entry.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. A roll call has been requested on the A3 amendment. The roll call will be granted, and I believe we do have 3 people requesting that it be published in the journal, so it will be. Any discussion on the A3? Yes, Senator Hauschild.
Ms. Chair, so it's a blank appropriation. Can I get clarification? How would this work if it were passed? What we would work with fiscal on what the appropriation would be later?
Thank you, Senator Hauschild. And I actually erred. I should have gone to Senator Pappas because this is her bill, to get her reaction to the amendment. So perhaps I can go. I apologize. Senator Pappas, would you like to respond to the amendment first, and then we can go to Senator Hauschild's question as well?
Madam Chair, I guess I'm really very doubtful that this would cost very much, because all employers have to keep track of their employees' hours anyway, and so I just don't understand. It doesn't seem to me that it would be much of a cost. But this bill is going to Senator Marty's committee, and you know, I'm sure there could be further discussion there if more information is brought forward that there is some significant cost. But I'd be very, very surprised if that was the case. So I don't think it's necessary to put this in the bill.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. And Senator Hauschild, to Senator Hauschild's point, Senator Grunhagen?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, and I appreciate that comment, but I would disagree. I mean, we just seen in the previous amendment, the A5, that we're appropriating money for government to implement some of this. And now we're coming to small businesses saying, well, you guys are on your own, okay? Not only are you going to have to pay the additional taxes for this, you have to cover the cost on top of it. So I guess I would, you know, I'm going to predict what the vote will be, okay? 5-4, but down. But I'm just making a prediction. I could be wrong. But I would encourage Senator Pappas to take that into consideration, that the bill helps government cover the cost. And this is one-time appropriation, but does nothing for small business. Even a tax credit would help, okay? That you could write those expenses off as a credit rather than just a tax deduction to implement this in your business. So at least consider that. I know it probably won't affect your vote today, although meteors do happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. Senator Hauschild, do you have anything further?
Well, to my question, it's a blank appropriation. So what is the process for figuring out what that appropriation is? That's my question.
Thank you, Senator Hauschild.
Yeah, that would have to be sent to fiscal staff to come up with a dollar amount.
Okay.
Just like similar to what they figured for the government. You know what I mean? In the previous amendment, they came up with a dollar amount.
Right, but we're voting on, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so they would have to come up with an estimate, just like they do on any bill that has a fiscal cost. This simply puts language in there asking them to come up with that benefit.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen.
Okay.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. so I do appreciate this amendment. I do think there is some warranty to assisting businesses, implement this program if there are costs. And to Senator Pappas, the author's comments, it very well could be that there isn't. But I would be interested in learning more about this rather than just voting on a blank appropriation. So I guess I would just, and I guess I'm not the author of the amendment, but I would just ask that we consider this with fiscal as we move through the process on this bill.
Thank you, Senator House.
Madam Chair, I'm not 100% sure if the fiscal note would cover this, but we will be getting a fiscal note before we get to finance. So we'll be able to find out if they are able to calculate this at all. But I don't know that they usually do calculate these kinds of costs.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. Senator Gruenhagen, would you still like a roll call and a?
Yeah, I appreciate that bipartisan comment from Senator, how do you say your last name, Husfeld? Hosfeld, okay. And I also appreciate Senator Pappas's comments of looking into that. Just keep some balance here between government, helping them with any types of costs versus the private sector. Because obviously, small businesses, they're already struggling, a lot of them, okay? And to pile one more thing on top of them, I'm sure is going to increase some additional cost. I'm not sure the best way to address that, but obviously we have staff and some experts that might help us with that. So with that, I'll withdraw that amendment and won't force a vote, okay?
Thank you, Senator Gruenhagen. Senator Gruenhagen, did you have another?
Yeah, I'd like to
amendment?
introduce the A4. It creates another blank appropriation for grants to small businesses with 50 or fewer employees to offset the cost of earn and save time leave. Again, based on our previous discussion, I think sounds like Senator Pappas and others on a bipartisan basis would at least like to take a look at this. So with that, I'll withdraw the amendment and leave it to the discretion of the author of the bill. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Senator Gruenhagen. The A4 amendment has been withdrawn. Members, thank you very much for your patience and for this excellent discussion about the Earn Sick and Safe Time Bill, Senate File number 34. I would like us to wrap up if we have some final comments. Senator Dornick, do you have something?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick appeal to on this bill for the small business owners. Minnesota is the only one that will have this in the Midwest, so we won't have any border states that have this. And so with already high tax, high mandates, the cost of our goods and services are many times higher. And so we want to keep our small businesses and our businesses here and not chase them away. So the one size fits all does not work. So I'm just making appeal. Please listen to small business owners out of Greater Minnesota as you, well, I know you're going to pass it, but as you go through the committee, the rest of the committees, and thank you, Senator Pappas. I heard that you said you would, so thank you for that. And that's all I have for my closing thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dornick. Senator Gruenhagen.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Senator Pappas, appreciate your consideration on some of these amendments that came forward and that you're willing to, look into them. And that, I know I want to help people who are sick too. Nobody's against that, okay? I mean, I won't go over what I've done already in my own business, okay, helping people. I even help customers who can't pay their food or their electric bill. I'm not going to give names, but I've written out checks to help them cover those expenses, okay? I mean, they come into my office crying, what am I supposed to do? So, and I've been, the other thing, I spent 13 years in jail ministry, not in jail, jail ministry, okay? There's a difference, they let me out at night, okay? So I've spent a lot of time trying to help people floating down the river of life that are wounded and hurting and trying to drag them to shore, help them, and point them in a different direction. Spent a lot of money too, and it doesn't always work, but I just have that empathy for them. And I know if it was me down that river, I'd appreciate if somebody helped pull me out of there. So just think that through. I know you don't want to damage small businesses, okay? I don't believe you do. But on the other hand, keep in mind the stick versus the carrot. And I think we start with a carrot, and we might be surprised how much accommodation we get with that by a lot of the smaller businesses even to keep good employees. We can always come with the stick, okay? But the stick can create some real negative consequences, especially for small businesses, well, for businesses in general. So just please consider that. That's all I'm asking. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Grunhagen. Senator Hauschild.
Thank you, Ms. Chair, and Senator Pappas. Thank you for bringing this bill before us. I think this is something that we have needed in Minnesota for a long time, and I'm really excited to hopefully get there on this bill here in the Senate. You know, I have talked to you about, you know, concerns that I have of small businesses and some of the flexibilities in the bill. So I look forward to, you know, talking more about this as it moves through the process and finding out what we can do to make sure that this sort of works for all regions, all businesses, and most importantly, all workers. So I look forward to those conversations, and just thank you for championing this, and I look forward to working more on it with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hauschild. And roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
Madam Chair, roll call, please.
Okay.
Journal.
Okay, a roll call has been requested, and there has been a request that this be published, the vote be published in the Journal. We have over 3
Madam
members
Chair,
requesting
I just need to make the motion.
Very good. And I just would like to comment just 30 seconds. You know, in my time at the Senate, I have taken note that we have a lot of people very concerned about business, large business, medium business, small business. And in some ways, you know, that's fine. We have a lot of people looking out for businesses, and I think we all agree that we want our business community to thrive. We want our businesses to be successful. But especially with the discussion that we've had here at the end of our committee session today, I want to bring it back to the working people of Minnesota. We have a lot of working people in this state making much less than the letter with the statistics that were reflected from the NFIB, I might add, $30 an hour, wow. Making much less than that, who are not given these basic benefits. And so this is about, the way I see this, and of course I'll let you have the last word, Senator Pappas, but the way that I see this, these are the basics. This is just a very basic floor to make sure that all Minnesotans in their jobs, in their work, are given just a floor, just a very basic benefit that already so many people have. People in middle incomes, higher incomes take this for granted. They get much better than this. So this is just, again, I appeal to my colleagues just to think about the working people of Minnesota when you're taking this vote, because of course we're all concerned about businesses, but here in my community of Duluth, also, we have not heard any complaints about our sick and save time policy in Duluth. And in fact, this is something that a lot of businesses, I think, are already offering this or better because of the shortages that we're seeing in workforce right now and the need to create better environments for workers in our state. And with that, Senator Pappas, I will let you have the last word. Senator Grugenhagen, we have to wrap up.
Yeah, just a quick comment. Nobody disagrees with what you just said. But
Senator Grugenhagen, I'm going to stop you right there. Nobody disagreed with a lot of things you were saying either. Senator Pappas, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know there's another committee, my committee, that needs to come into this room. So I would just thank the members of the committee for an excellent discussion, more discussion to come, and I would like to move that Senate File 34 as amended be recommended to pass and re-referred to the Committee on State and Local Government.
Thank you, Senator Pappas. A roll call has been requested on Senate File 34 as amended. We have a motion on that amendment from Senator Pappas, and so we will take a roll call on Senate File 34 as amended.
Senate File 34, McEwen.
Yes.
Hauschild.
Yes.
Dornick.
No.
Grunhagen.
no.
Liskey.
No.
Marty. Umu Verbetten.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Wiesenberg.
No.
5 yes, 4 no.
Thank you. Senate File 34 has passed through the labor.
Chair, this is when you use your gavel.
Yes. There being 5 ayes and 4 nays, Senate File 34 is as amended, is recommended to pass and is re-referred to the Committee on State and Local Government and Veterans. Thank you, Senator Pappas. Thank you, members.
Madam Chair, are you adjourning the meeting?
Yes, thank you, Senator Pappas. The Senate Labor Committee is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.